fellow humans and earthlings. I hope you have your hats today, because what I'm about to tell you is so top secret that all the aliens will hunt you down. We're diving deep into the dark hole of aliens and mind control. I'm talking JFK, I'm talking the Illuminati, Men in Black, Area 51, the Clintons, China's economy, NASA. I'm actually just kidding. We don't need to do all that. But in reality, there is a lot to learn about alien lives and whether or not they exist. There are a few United States-based extraterrestrial investigative programs. One of them includes the SETI program, which stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And it's actually a very interesting program. One of the ladies, Jill Tarter, was the inspiration for Jodie Foster's character in Contact, which I think is very cool. But basically, she's been a co-founder of the SETI Project and Institute. And basically what they do is search for macro and micro life forms. So that includes like microbacteria or larger intellectual life forms. Jill Tarter has been involved in the program, the SETI program, for around 40 years, trying to answer the question of whether or not we are alone in the universe. And she's on the board for the Allen Telescopic Array, which surveys the radio universe for astrophysical emissions, which is essentially saying the radio sound waves that might tell us whether there's alien life out there or not. This program and its hunt for extraterrestrial life leads me to think, like, why haven't we found aliens yet? Which is the basis of the Fermi paradox, basically saying, like, you know, where are they? Where are the aliens? Why haven't they come to us? Why haven't we come to them? You know, why haven't we heard of them yet, considering how vast our universe is? And this is sort of explained loosely by the Drake equation. The Drake equation was created by Frank Drake, who was another founder of the SETI program, and he basically determines, based off of a certain number of factors, why we haven't found aliens yet and what it would take to find aliens. The equation goes like this: N equals R star times FP times NE times FL times FI times FC times L, which sounds complicated, but it's a little bit simpler than you would think. Firstly, N stands for all the possible encounters we could have with aliens in our Milky Way. So specifically, all the number of life forms that are intelligent that we could encounter in the Milky Way. FP stands for the rate of star creation per year, which we actually, and by we I mean astronomers, not me, have actually discovered that number, which averages around 3 solar masses per year are created. And that could be anything from like 0.3% of a solar mass, 10 different stars that are 0.3% of the solar mass, or it could be 1 mega 3 times the mass of our sun kind of star. So it really depends on what the solar mass is, but an average of 3 solar masses gets created per year. NE stands for the number of stars that actually have orbiting planets, which is a considerable number of stars in our universe. It is shocking. The tricky one is actually FL, which involves exoplanets, which we have recently, and by again we I mean astronomers, have found a lot of exoplanets. FI is even more complicated because it revolves around planets that are in the Goldilocks Center that could evolve intellectual life, and I don't actually know what would equate to the qualities necessary for involving intellectual life, and I think that's also a big question, and why this equation, the Drake equation, is kind of loose in its description, because no one really knows exactly how we got to be what we are today, and so to determine what that would look like on a different planet is like impossible for us today. FI is the fraction of these planets that have intellectual life on it. So life that could be us or more intellectual, which again is almost impossible for us to determine at this point with our technology. FC is like electromagnetic communication, which is basically like the fraction of these planets that do have intellectual life, that has evolved, that does live in the Goldilocks circle, that does have a sun, and all these things in the equation that can actually communicate with us in the same not language, but the same frequencies that we are communicating with them. So like radio waves or, yeah, basically. And finally, L is longevity. And this one's critical too because it involves how long have they been broadcasting those frequencies. If it's under like 100 years or something, maybe that was too short for us to actually get the frequency, and so we could never find them, or they went extinct, or something cataclysmic happened that stopped their frequency broadcast before we could discover it. And that is like a critical part of the equation. Basically, in theory, the Drake equation explains what we would need to determine to see how realistic it would be for us to interact or communicate with intelligent extraterrestrial life. And the fact that we haven't is still hard to explain. But this equation brings down how frequent it might actually be if we could answer more than just one part of it. Finally, the United States Naval Department has a program that supposedly was canceled in 2012 but continues to exist, which was renamed, originally called Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification, and is now called Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, which is just a bunch of fancy words of saying a bunch of guys looking at the space and stars in our skies for unidentified objects. And they recently released 3 videos that had been leaked about 10 years ago of alien objects, supposedly. These are unidentified flying objects that are still unidentified to this day, that are doing things we suspect are impossible based off of the technology that we have today for us to do. And so these 3 footage is the only thing that the naval group has released of alien encounters, and it's the only thing the U.S. has really admitted to in terms of alien interaction. But I recommend you look into them because they're very interesting videos. I hope you learned something about aliens today. I also hope that you feel a little less paranoid about aliens today. Thank you.